Everyone's ready? On your mark, get set. Miriam, begin. Christopher, begin. Sam, begin. Let's have a hand for our playoff contestants. All right, the judges are looking over the solutions. All right, in third place is Miriam Sicherman. There's a tough spot here. She has one letter wrong, and it was the last letter she filled in. Didn't know it's Paven, the golfer, crossing pot ale on the P, and she filled in an L. But everything else is correct, and she finished in 15 minutes and 33 seconds. Can that be right? 15:33? Can't be right. Anyway, in third place. 10:33.
Sorry, I had 20 because you told me 20.
Second place. Second place in perfect in, should I subtract? 9 minutes and 4 seconds is down to Sam Donaldson. And the winner of the C division, perfect in 8 minutes 45 seconds, is Christopher Baker. I guess we're set. Everyone is ready. So Michael and Doug are going to start at the same time. You guys ready? On your mark, get set. Michael, Doug, begin. Emily, begin.
Well, Peter, it's a great day for a crossword tournament.
What a charming catchphrase.
Let's play too.
I think so. I've never heard that phrase before. Did it originate in the crossword puzzle community?
Yeah, an original crossword phrase.
I know.
Neil Conan and Merle Regal, our predecessors at this table,
Yes.
started that.
So this, Greg, is my first crossword puzzle tournament of any kind. So as we watch these competitors here go for the, well, actually, it's not quite gold. It's kind of a silvery finish on the trophies. Well, what should I watch for?
Well, you'd like to see them fill the grid in, I think.
Really? Now, may they fill the grid in with anything? With colors, little pictographs, emoji?
Fortunately,
how is this done?
So this is going to be letters.
Letters, I see.
This is actually
from the Roman alphabet, I'm told.
Mostly, yes.
I studied up, everybody. I wanted to be accomplished.
It's worth noting this is a beautiful open grid by Mark Diehl.
Yes.
Which I'm sure you noticed when you saw his name. You said, "Oh, that anagrams to like 'em hard."
I thought of that, but I wasn't going to say it in front of a mixed audience. But all right. We're going to go blue. That's fine.
Look, he put fastballs in the puzzle.
I understand. So once again, where does your mind go with this? This is a family event. This is perhaps an innocuous hobby, and yet you're constantly going toward...
Look, there are hidden things in this puzzle. I just want to point one thing out. While they're all solving up there, but they're taking their time, so we can talk a little bit. Everyone notices 42 across. Tough answer, pot ale. Seems to me that's two things.
Yes.
You don't need both. You can have one or the other. And but just to show you where Mark's head is at, it crosses took a hit. I didn't make this up, it's in the puzzle.
I feel like I'm learning more about you than I am about crossword. It's like, wow, you seem like such a nice man. And then, so you were actually explaining to me that this puzzle is when you say, I'm sorry, it's deceptively difficult.
Well, there's one of the things that's tough about it, and we saw it in the earlier round, is that you've got 4 independent sections, and there's only one entry that gets you from one of those to the other. And one of them is the rounded tip.
Yes.
Which is, by the way, not really a dictionary phrase.
No, it isn't.
You can't look that up in the dictionary. It sounds like a place in Nebraska.
You know what's interesting is I was thinking style of conduct, so I guess you're not the only one with a 30 line. Greg and I, before it began, were talking about how incredibly useful somewhat vulgar words are for crossword puzzles, because they tend to have lots of vowels.
Enema, for example.
Yeah, exactly. You can't use these for a Saturday morning puzzle because the family might be upset.
And you would have thought that rounded tip could not be used in a puzzle.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, right there.
That's why you brought me in.
The famous book, Bury My Heart at Rounded Tip. It's a very, so I bring it up because you have round, and you have an ED, and you don't know, is it rounded something, or is it round edges, as 2 people had put in. Now, you'll notice Doug has working backwards, and has got tip in there, so he's not going to have the same problem.
Right.
But
wait, now I've noticed, I've watched both the C competitors and now the B competitors. Is there a rule that you clever people use as to what corner you should start in? Because we've seen some lower right starters and some upper left.
Well, you want to start in the upper left.
You do.
You want to work from the upper left down if you can. You want to start in the first row, which Mark conveniently has put first row in for us. So you just look at it, you say, oh, that's the first row, I'll just write first row.
Yeah. Is that how it works?
Yes, every puzzle.
It all seems so much simpler than I thought.
But it's interesting that Doug has kind of gone from the bottom up. There are a couple fill-in-the-blank clues, I think, in this puzzle, which are good places to start.
Now,
Kimo-sabe.
you're a constructor, right?
I make puzzles, yeah.
So when you sit down, when Mark is the constructor of this particular puzzle, when someone like him sits down and says, I'm going to do a puzzle for the tournament, what do you start with? Do you start with a conception, like this lovely, I think it was puzzle number 2, it was all T clues. Do you start with a long word for the middle, as we can see here, warehouse stores?
You start with the collected works of the Marquis de Sade, and you figure out what will be the most painful for the solvers. With this, you try to get this big grid with a lot of white space in it. You probably, if you're a constructor, you see 15-letter phrases everywhere you go. So I'm sure when Mark saw warehouse stores somewhere, he said, oh, that's the middle of my crossword puzzle.
Don't touch me, Greg.
And it's
Nobody said you were going to touch me in this. I'm going to back over there if you do that.
why you were invited.
All right, but go on. So you start, you say, I have a 15-letter phrase.
I'm going to put that in.
Put that in, and then is that where you start?
And, well, it could be one of the places you start. You notice, actually, in Michael and Emily's case, that's one of the things they've already got filled in, which should be helpful for them. And it looks in Michael's case like it is, because he's got all these letters down the middle.
Is that a standard strategy? Do you say, I'm just going to go for the 15-letter phrase right in the middle of this, get that, and then I'll have a...
If you could. It's never that easy. But most cases you want to be pretty methodical, the way Doug is working his way through the grid.
Right.
Emily's kind of a little more scattershot. She's got some things down on the right, and things on the left.
Right. So what do you think, Greg, as an experienced, is the term of art solver? Are we sitting in a room full of solvers?
They hope. That's our goal.
No, I mean people who run are runners, people who play baseball are baseball players.
People who solve are solvers.
They're solvers. Okay. So a room full of solvers. So what does it take, Greg Pliska, to become a great solver?
Luck. It helps if your last name is Fair. A huge amount of knowledge is helpful.
Right.
And a love of words. I mean, it's kind of like what, what's in Merle's snow globe there. If you've got letters floating around your head all the time and words, you're fascinated by words, then you're gonna be good at this, and you're gonna recognize word patterns more than you're gonna, crossword solvers know definitions of words. Scrabble players know word patterns. They don't know anything necessarily about the words.
Right.
Crossword solvers need to know words and knowledge. Right. If I can interrupt myself for a minute, Doug over here is getting very close He still hasn't filled in the first row. I don't understand. You just write first.
Doug, just write in first row. Doesn't seem to work. I tried on these headphones just to see what it was like, and they are astounding.
Okay, we have an issue with a tape not playing the noise. So Michael's actually hearing what we say. So
Michael, we've been talking about you the whole time.
There we go. Got it.
now he can't hear us. Are you sure you can't hear us, Michael? Michael? Okay, good. So
Michael, I've always loved you. Seems to work.
well, I got him to fill in a rounded tip really quickly.
I thought I was bringing the funny here.
Just toss him up, I'll hit on mine. Okay, Doug is about to finish. Now the question is, has he got it all right? Very close. He got the difficult Paven Pot Ale crossing. It looks like he's got everything. You know, if there's another hidden thing that I noticed. Several things, and Mark himself might not be aware of the subconscious tributes he's put in here, but if you look at 39 down, the word lemur, that of course is an anagram of you, Merle, which is another nice little tribute to our departed colleague.
Do you think that's intentional?
No, I just noticed it. But bear with, pretend it is intentional. He's also got tributes to former champions. Trip Payne is up there in the form of Trip Lane, which he's clued as triplane. I don't understand, but it says Trip Lane. 18 across, tribute to two great solvers and competitors, Anne and Al. Al Sanders. But so I noticed this. 11 down is hind end.
Yeah.
And 6 down is re-man. If you switch the beginnings and ends of those, you get Hinman, H-I-N-M-A-N, and you get red end. So I don't know if he was prescient or not. Michael is suggested that Tyler was going to come to a rut, and Tyler's back there fuming right now.
Greg, is this how you charmed your wife? Did you sit with her? She's sitting right behind
This is where I charmed
I know. And I've heard the story. It's apparently famous. Apparently, it's the one and only hookup that's ever happened to this.
A lot of people laughing.
I know. But I'm sitting here and just pointing at. Notice that that's. And if you reverse this.
I think I said, look, you know a lot of Arizona cities, don't you? She said, yes. You want to get married? It was great. I said, you want to go get lunch? She said, yeah. I said, let's go for pizza. It's cheap. She said, I love you.
Wow. Who would be made?
All right. So it looks like this puzzle is Michael's puzzle is.
I'm not an expert, but it does seem like Emily is at this point in third place.
This is why we invited you.
I understand most people come here, I mean, yes, the competition is fun, but mostly they come for the crashes. The crashes. One person about 15 feet behind me got that joke, and I thank you, whoever you are.
You solved this puzzle, right?
I did solve
You and
this
your
puzzle.
pal.
What happened was Will sent me the puzzle, said make sure you don't show it to anybody. But last night I was having dinner with some friends, including, and I should say, 2 teenage girls, senior in high school and I think a 13-year-old. And I said, hey, here is the puzzle that is the championship puzzle at the Crossword Puzzle Championships tomorrow. And there are 3 sets of clues. Let's do the hardest one. And everybody said, sure. So we sat around and we were just ripping through this. We were like, oh, and honestly, I was like, this is amazing. I clearly am an undiscovered genius of crossword puzzle solving. And I should not be doing the commentary, I should be winning. As long as I have this high school senior who was doing about half the answers. And then we realized, of course, that we were using the wrong set of clues. And it was actually the C set of clues. So it turns out I'm not as smart as I thought I was, which I find out just about every day of my life. But that was yesterday's iteration of that discovery.
Emily's almost done. I don't think you can see in the back. She's got 4 empty spots in the lower right. Pot ale, again, bedeviling her.
Everybody seems, myself and my friends, I should say, it came up. Who has ever heard of pot ale?
Anybody who feeds, what is it? It's the residue of fermented wort left in a still and used for animal feed. Which, by the way, is not an wort, but an oat is what you feed your animals. It's a mistake I had.
I want to follow up the 8 clues today.
It crosses Corey Pavin. If you're not a golf fan, you won't know what that is. Interesting, 47 across, the word reviling.
Yeah.
I talked to Matt about Dr. Phil's performance on this puzzle. Dr. Phil got C perfect, but Dr. Phil was troubled by both A and the B puzzle because reviling has never, according to Dr. Phil's database, been used in a crossword puzzle.
Really?
So Dr. Phil sees that and says, reviling, that's a terrible thing to put in a puzzle. It's got to be something else.
Right, so it's not.
Much like it gets
much
screwed
like
up.
I think Emily is sort of stuck in that corner.
Emily, yeah, she thinks, oh, that should be resiling, which is what Dr. Phil thought it should be.
Resiling.
Because you use that word much more often in everyday conversation.
That actually has been my go-to exclamation. Resiling! I can't believe that! We were talking about this earlier, that I was looking at the difference between the A clues and the C clues. The C clue, the easy clue for the solution Modine is Matthew of the Dark Knight Rises. And the presumably harder clue is Star of Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah,
You know, I think that's reversed. I mean, because who remembers Matthew Modine in The Dark Knight Rises?
No, nobody. Christian Bale.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But at least to get the first name in that one, so you
Yeah,
get an actor named Matthew. Whereas if you've never seen Full Metal Jacket,
Everybody's seen it. Oh, yeah. We're just woman to my left. No, actually, you're old.
yeah. So that means you
Having
know.
met a lot of you, so are you.
This means you know Greg Evigan of BJ and the Bear much better than Brianna Evigan of Sorority Row, the great slasher film.
Okay, could we be quiet for just a bit? Hers ran out.
Hers
All right,
as well.
we're gonna be quiet.
Well, time runs out in 10 seconds, but we'll give her another 5 seconds beyond that because of the, she had trouble with it. Okay, time is up. Let's have a hand for our big contestant. Okay, in third place, with four blank squares at the end, is Emily O'Neill. Second place, perfect in 9 minutes and 39 seconds, is Michael McGargy. And first place in the B division, perfect in 8 minutes and 23 seconds, and winning $1,000 is Peterson. If you guys would like to come over, you can get your trophies. Any of the players can hear us? Okay, I think we're set to begin. As I said, Dan will start first, and Howard and David will start 8 seconds later. On your mark, get set, Dan, begin. Howard, David, begin.
So Greg, I noticed these solvers staring at the grid. Is there anything you can learn from a blank grid that will help you anticipate the answers? I mean, what do you see when you look at a blank grid?
You blank grid, you know.
Otherwise, I was going to point out, what was the first one he got? He got Modine.
He got Modine.
Of course.
Look at
Who
that.
else is a star of Full Metal Jacket?
And David Plotkin is like half your age.
I understand that.
So that criticism that you wouldn't know Full Metal Jacket unless you were our age turns out to be wrong.
Absolutely.
David Plotkin, may you win the tournament for that.
Somebody to my left pointed out, somebody said that it was interesting to watch Dan come on stage because he just walked directly to the center. Nobody told him to go, he just assumed that. Now the first thing, it's interesting, the first thing that Dan got is, let me look across here.
Anna.
Yeah, oh, really?
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's a fill in the blank. It usually is. On a mission.
So I'm watching Dan here because I've just been told that the man is sort of a once in a lifetime prodigy.
He's got an 8-second head start. That's like half the puzzle for
I
me.
know.
We were talking earlier, of course, everyone remembers last year, Dan had a 5-second lead, and Tyler actually finished the puzzle 4 seconds faster than Dan, but that extra second allowed Dan to say he was done first. So those 8 seconds are like, the other two guys, you might as well just sit down.
I love the fact that on our left, Howard, one of the first clues he got was one way to suffer in silence. He got that quickly. Is that sort of a natural go-to response for crossword puzzle solvers? There's been a lot of silent suffering.
That's what we've been doing all weekend.
Yeah, okay.
Especially on Puzzle 5,
Yeah.
of course. What's great for Howard's case is that he's going to have tip filled in and not have to deal with the rounded edges, rounded tip question. David's got trip lane and snow angels. But again, Dan is just kind of working his way through the puzzle. Well, actually, he stopped right now, but he was kind of working his way through the puzzle.
One thing I've always been very regretful of in my life is that despite my vast fame among nerds, I rarely show up in crossword puzzles, especially compared to my bitter enemy Ira Glass. And the reason for that has nothing to do with Ira's talent or fame or genius or contributions to our field or anything like that. It's just he has a vowel, consonant, vowel.
Exactly.
Right.
It's your parents' fault.
I understand. So if I were to change my name to something that would get me in more crossword puzzles,
I'll tell you what,
do you recommend?
Could you change it to Anna?
A-N-A?
Oh, no, O-N-A. We get rid of all these fill-in-the-blank clues.
That's true.
Radio host Sagal.
I've always thought that if only I had been named after Herman Melville's obscure novel, Umu.
Yes, Omu Sagal.
Yes, the only way anybody knows that novel.
How many people here listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me? There we go.
Yeah.
You sound just like you do on the radio.
It's funny how that I looked around and I noticed everybody's indoor fluorescent light pallor, and I said, these are my people.
Okay. Howard's moving slowly. He's got the lower right pretty much done, except for the Dr. Phil killer reviling. But David is doing very well. Thanks to his knowledge of Matthew Modine,
That was really the key.
he's gone from the upper right to the lower left pretty clearly. He's got a problem with the bottom across clue there, 50 across, which is little one of children's literature. He's putting in orphan, which is a reasonable little orphan Annie. It's a reasonable answer, and the H and the and are in the right place. But everyone, of course, knows the little one of children's literature is the red hen.
Well, everybody. I noticed that Howard got fastballs right off the bat. Professional comedian, ladies and gentlemen.
And from not an easy clue.
No, here's, which, is there a lot of sports crossword puzzle solving crossover here?
Well, Tyler Hinman, might be the king of sports and crossword fandom.
Right.
I mean, he's a major sports fan and obviously a major crossword solver.
Right, I see. Well, you might think, well, athletics, crossword puzzle, very different. However, athletics provides many opportunities to be nerdy. There's your statistics, there's your trivia. So yeah, it's more of a crossover than you'd think.
And as we learned last night, the man who created Dr. Phil is also working on software with Mark Cuban for basketball.
Yeah, I heard
Plotting
that.
trajectories.
Plotting trajectories, so yeah.
All right, Howard blew through the upper left corner and is catching up. He's got warehouse stores down the middle, snowing.
I am disappointed at our constructor. It wasn't a big clue that he did not use a Muppet for Bunsen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
And
right.
both Dan and David have got round edges.
Right.
Which is, butter knife feature is singular, but in a very shady, kind of misdirected way, designed to make you go down the wrong path.
When you're constructing a puzzle, do you ever intentionally set out to trip people up?
Mark Diehl does all the time.
Is that his
He's
style?
an evil man.
Right.
No, especially, and I would say one of the things that makes the A clues for this puzzle hard is not that they're strange elliptical ways of cluing things, but they're very vague, they're ambiguous.
Right.
Heaters, eager, boards. Boards could be a verb, and now you don't know what it is. So it leaves things hard for these guys.
I just heard a groan from Howard.
At the word parlance.
It may be at this point that his quadriceps are giving out. Look at that. He was climbing up. It's interesting that Dan in the middle has almost all of warehouse stores, but he hasn't filled it in.
What's he got at the bottom?
Oh,
Warehouse.
I mean, it's just staring at him in the face. It's interesting. I mean, obviously, he would do it if he wanted to.
Now he's got it. Oh, wow. David is stalled on the right after having a commanding, pretty good lead.
How much is the intimidation factor at play? How much do our two other competitors, Howard and David, they know they're going up against Dan, the six-time champion?
They want to take him down.
Is there any trash talk in solving?
Downstairs, they've been yelling at each other. Howard, it looks like Howard is close to filling the upper right corner. He's got stampedes. The clue for 6 across is evil. Muscovite, for example. He wants it to be Soviet. He wants it to be something. Yeah, in fact, see, I read his mind. Look at that. He wrote in Soviet.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Howard? Try writing in
that is an impossible clue.
Oh, it's possible.
A muscovite schist. Is muscovite a kind of schist?
It's apparently.
Right. You're schisting. But Dan is close.
Whoa.
Closer way. So close. So it's
Dan is stuck and took a hit and rounded tip. He's got rounded. Okay. That was pretty extraordinary.
Somebody would have noticed.
I wonder if Dan knows it. I wonder if Dan even knows.
He can see out of the corner of his eye that something is happening.
I think we can say that Dan's downfall was rounded tip.
We'll let the judges, of course, check to make sure there are no errors. And at this point, David might as well take the next 10 minutes to build the grid, because he's got lots of time over there. It's a good thing we made Will made the time limit on this an extra 5 minutes over the other two. That's big 20 minutes we needed all of to get this done. Every year we say it can't get more exciting.
And yet, well, this means, if I'm not mistaken, that Dan's reign as will it stand at...
If both puzzles are correct, Howard will have finished ahead of Dan.
Yeah.
And Dan will be tied for the most championships. Delphin has 7.
Oh, wow!
Oh, my apologies. Dolphin will continue to ring.
Is John Delphin still with us? Is he around?
Yes. You handed him a prize.
I did, okay.
Came in 10th.
Well, you
You're in
know,
10th this year.
like,
Not a slacker, John Delphin.
so basically John Delphin just watched his record
John Delphin is sitting back having a scotch right now.
right now. He's like,
It's like Mike Ditka every year when the Dolphins, when no one
that
beats
was
the Dolphins.
that was a really game attempt at a sports reference.
I didn't mean Mike Ditka, did I?
You meant the legend is it's not true that the surviving members
Don Shula.
Don Shula, the surviving members of the '73 Dolphins say, you know, when the last undefeated team in the NFL, whenever the next challenger to that record loses their game, they all get their champagne out of the refrigerator and they have a drink. And apparently that's a lie, but it's a lovely
It's a sweet
story.
urban myth.
Yeah.
And it's sports, so we can talk about it.
And what that means is that John Delphin is going to be at least 7 years starting next year.
Yeah.
Well, no, Howard could start a streak. So nothing to worry about.
Just looking over at David's puzzle, he's stuck on 44 across, which is in the A clues, quote, well, all right.
Well, his real problem is he still has round edges, which is so many of our problems.
So many other stuff.
Yeah.
And he's got warehouse STI, warehouse stilts, he's thinking warehouse sticks, I don't know what this could be.
Well, I think he went for I suppose,
is a problem.
and he doesn't realize that's wrong.
The great golfer Corey Duvall.
Yeah.
And, and instead of in silence, he's got endlessly, which is how he's suffering right now.
Yeah.
One way to suffer endlessly.
He was thinking of David Duval, who's a golfer.
Yeah. This is where Mark Diehl earns his points as a cruel, evil man.
He's so confident about round edges. I would be too.
Yeah. And once you've decided it's 5 letters and 5 letters, 7 and 3 is hard to see. It's hard to see it could be rounded something else.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I totally see that.
Drivel, he's put in as the answer for still swill. Still swill is drivel.
Yeah.
Kind of like us up here right now.
Yeah, we're just filling time while he's filling in squares.
So what are you doing this afternoon, Peter?
Well, I'm apparently, I don't know what I'm actually, this is very exciting because I've got to see 2 old friends who both placed in the rookie division, Andrea Carlo-Michaels and Jack Lesher.
And you're going to hand them prizes.
I get to hand them prizes, which is a nice thing to do for your friends if you haven't seen them in a while. In fact, I'm going to start doing that whenever I run into friends who I haven't seen in a while. I'm going to bring a trophy. Because you assume they're happy to see you, but you want to give them that little extra thing. Like, oh, I enjoy hanging out with Peter because he often gives me a little trophy. And I will do that. I even get Jack a check, which is even better. I might adopt that as
Your friends will like you that much more.
I appreciate you meeting me for lunch. Here's a little something for your trouble. Something in your shirt pocket.
And a trophy.
Yeah, on the side. I'm going to say that David came out very strong.
Yes.
It's interesting how rounded edges have just come along, and I suppose.
This is often the point where it's wise to just erase a lot of things and come at it fresh. Because he's now looking at 5 wrong assumptions.
Yeah.
And if you get those things out of the way, it might open up warehouse stores. If you got to the eye, you might see what that is.
Now, I don't know about you, what you would do if you were in David's situation. What I would do is give up entirely and move on to like Heidel words. Or maybe like the jumble? The jumble. That's a little more my speed.
Is there a jumble tournament?
No, however,
They're your guys. They're from Chicago. So.
yeah, there is, I will tell you, no, I'm not going to say that story. Too long.
We've got 5 minutes and 21 seconds.
All right. Years ago, I sat down with a friend to look at his recently deceased uncle's journal. His uncle had lived a somewhat dissolute life of alcoholism, disability, pot ale, troubles with the law. And we leafed through, it wasn't so much a journal as a scrapbook. And interspersed with the various articles that he had clipped out of interest to him, some of which were about his own arrests. Like, he was like, you know, local man arrested for drunk and disorderly, and he'd make a little note. He'd make a little note like, oh, that was a bad day. But interspersed with these news articles and other entries were hideout words from, I believe, the National Enquirer, because that was his pastime. Okay. You apparently can fill out the hideout words and send them in, and hopefully win a prize. And this was his hobby. And so he'd have the hideout words, and I don't know how he both sent them in and had a copy, but nonetheless, they were pasted in there. And you know, it'd always be a note like, oh, I thought I did really well on this one, I thought I'd win, I didn't win. And meanwhile, so we're reading this progression of his life as he moves further into dissoluteness and toward his inevitable death, because he had died, which is why we had the book. And then toward the end, he had a hideout word, and it said, I won, because he won $50. And my friend and I were crying with joy for this man, that he had won his hideout word in the National Enquirer. That was more of a sad story than I thought it was when it began.
He could finally turn from his life of crime.
But no, it was like then things got even worse and he died, but it was like this really great moment for him, and we were very excited for him to win the National Enquirer hideout word sweepstakes.
$50. Look, there was a time $50 was a lot of money.
I know, not around here, not with the kind of money you're handing out. $1,000.
$50.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you are friends with Gretchen Thayer on Facebook. Dan's newlywed wife. Congratulations to that. But Gretchen has been posting with the hashtag Stamford Wives Club. And the real Puzzle Wives of Stamford. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Real Puzzle Wives of Stamford. And she wrote, after 3 puzzles, Dan is in first place, I got a manicure. And then later, this is what I do in my spare time, check Facebook and read this. Then later she writes, after 6 puzzles, Dan is in first place, I'm drinking a margarita. This morning she says, I kept level 23 of Candy Crush. Dan is in the finals. David's still working on a puzzle.
Yeah. So this is kind of a metaphor for some sort of human predicament, which is that he's standing on a stage, oblivious to the fact that 1,000 people are watching him fail. No, it's hard. I feel a tremendous amount of...
Very dark.
I do. I went really dark. But that's, I mean... I don't need to trade places with him. I have been there.
You make your living standing on
I make in front of him, yeah.
But, I mean, again, when you're stuck like this in a puzzle, you just have to back up. It's true of actually any problem in human endeavor. When you're so stuck, you just got to erase a couple things and back up.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, he's saying I'm stuck. Something must be wrong. It all seems like it should be equally wrong. He's channeling what I'm saying.
I know. It's weird. It's like a strange moment. But I mean, I didn't mean to be critical. I mean, this is terrible. This is like someone has literally had this nightmare, right? Someone is like, oh my God, it was terrible. I was at a Crossword puzzle tournament. Everybody else was finished. Everybody was staring at my back. I couldn't figure it out.
And you know, the unfortunate thing, when you wake up from the nightmare, you're just by yourself.
I know.
When he wakes up, 700 people are going to cheer for him.
I know.
Got 40 seconds. 29 down. One way to suffer. Endless.
But yeah, this is sort of a metaphor. Like you can make one little error, and the next thing you know,
I suppose.
there's also a notion here that the errors that get you are the ones that seem they have to be right. Your basic assumptions. You have to go back and question your basic assumptions.
He's looking at 30. Oh, it's time is up.
Judgment call.
With some squares left in the lower right corner is David Plotkin. David won $500 in second place, finishing perfectly in 8 minutes and 44 seconds, winning $2,500 is Dan Thayer. And our new champion, perfect in 7 minutes and 49 seconds, winning $7,000, Howard Barca. I just want to say thank you to Peter Sagal and Greg Pliska. Mark, fantastic puzzle. Great show. Thank you all for coming. Next year's championship is the last weekend in March, and I hope to see you all then. Thank you very much.